What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a new release film that I saw the Thursday night premiere of, and I was very excited to watch this movie. Ever since I saw the initial trailer for the film, that it was distributed by Neon, that it was a horror movie that involved Indian culture, and I thought that was so cool, very unique, and I was really excited to watch this movie. And the film I'm going to be discussing today is It Lives Inside. It Lives Inside is directed by Bishal Dutta. An Indian American teenager struggling with her cultural identity has a falling out with her former best friend, and in the process, unwittingly releases a demonic entity that grows stronger by feeding on her loneliness. So, as I said, very excited to see this movie. This is actually one of my most anticipated films for the rest of the year since I saw the trailer for the movie, and it was fine. It's entertaining, it's enjoyable. It's not all that memorable, which is very unfortunate. And that's what really disappointed me about this movie, is I wanted to come away loving it. I wanted this to be a new favorite of mine. And there are things that I really appreciate about it. There are moments in it that I really enjoy. But as a whole, it doesn't work completely. And I'll talk a little bit more about it once I dive a bit deeper into the film. So at the beginning of the movie, we're introduced to Sam. She is an Indian American high schooler who she lives at home with her mother and father. Her mother is very rooted in their culture. They have get-togethers where they dress in traditional attire. They throw these parties. She still speaks fluent Hindi. She doesn't go into English very often. And Sam is the complete polar opposite. She is very embedded in American culture. She virtually never speaks Hindi at home. Her father is kind of the best of both worlds. He loves his daughter, clearly from very early on in the film, you can tell. He speaks the language, but he almost solely speaks English to her. Her full name is Samita, and her mother calls her full name consistently, where he refers to her as Sam, and he's kind of just trying to be as close to her as he possibly can, where the mother really wants her to hold tight to her traditional values. So we get their familial dynamic at the beginning. She goes off to school, and we're introduced to Tamira, and we meet her at the beginning of the film. If you've seen the trailer, she's clutching a hold of this jar that's very dark on the inside. It has this like inscription on the outside of it. She has bags under her eyes. She looks like she hasn't slept in a really long time. Everyone at school makes fun of her, doesn't treat her normally. And one day she pulls Sam off to the side and says, "Something horrible is happening to me. I need your help." Tries to tell her that she's got something inside this jar, that she can only appease it by feeding it raw meat, and things are getting out of control, and she can't get rid of it without her help. Well, Sam unfortunately tells her that she's a freak. After making fun of Tamira, she breaks the jar that she has, and after breaking the jar, she unleashes that spirit or entity or demon, whatever's inside, and that demon takes Tamira away. And so the film is Sam is trying to figure out what this entity is, how to stop it, because it begins to terrorize her. So, as I said, very much a letdown, but there are moments in it that really shine. The main part of the movie that I really enjoy is the family dynamic. This film is looking at Indian culture, and the lore behind the creature is all embedded in Indian culture, and the whole thing with a young Indian American girl who goes to school. She's constantly surrounded by American culture. She wants to fit in, right? Anyone who has ever felt like an outcast tries at some point to fit in so that they don't have to be ridiculed or made fun of. And so she's really pouring herself into those American ideals. And her mother really is rooted in the Indian culture and doesn't want her to lose sight of that. And some of the best parts of the movie are the conversations between the two of them and kind of trying to understand both of their viewpoints. And I think the way that it is written, it's done really well. And it was my favorite part of the movie, was the relationship between mother and daughter, seeing their blow up, seeing the moments that they come together. I thought it was really beautiful, and I thought that it was really the highlight and the standout of the entire film. The problem is everything else kind of falls to the wayside. The horror elements of it, rather than being a great accompaniment to that message, just feel like it's an element of the culture that creates the horror. But there's nothing that really overlaps the two to make it engaging enough to where when it was hitting the horror stuff, I was less interested than I was when it was with the family and understanding their dynamics. And that was really unfortunate, because there are some moments in this that are unsettling that I thought were handled really well. There are also some incredibly cliche moments. They have a scene with a character that has the hair over the face contorting the body, which at this point I have seen that so many times. Just do something new. I get it, like it's jarring when it happens, but to some people, but like to me, as soon as they cut into the shot, I'm like, okay, this is the direction that it's gonna go. The creature is hidden through most of the film. It walks around invisible, so you don't really get to see it until the third act. I did like the design of it. Some of the moments that it was in CG compared to where it looked more practical did not look as great, but I still liked the overall look of the creature. Thought they did a really nice job with that. The performances in this thing are all pretty good. Some of the kids at the high school do not do as good of a job as the lead actors do. There's some cringy moments of dialogue between the kids that don't really work. There's a couple of really uncomfortable scenes that, like, between the editing and the framing of the shots, they just feel so out of place, and like the camera lingers on these characters for too long to where it just was like the director didn't know when to cut the scene, and it felt so out of place tonally with the rest of the movie. So those scenes kind of pulled me out a little bit as well. They were a little bit jarring. There's a teacher character that's introduced at the beginning of the film who I like what she represented at the beginning as like this support system wanting to be there for her students. But she just feels kind of thrown in there. She's always at the school, like constantly. And she just feels kind of there to have another character that's in danger throughout the third act of the film. Comparatively to the beginning where she feels like a support system, I just feel like they could have done a lot more with her character. She's just kind of there. And yeah, I just feel like overall, it doesn't have a great atmosphere either. It pulls you out too often for it to be scary from start to finish. And there's just so many things that I felt like as I was watching it could have been polished up to make a really incredible horror film. And instead I got something that was serviceable. I mean, I enjoyed myself, but I'm probably not going to remember a lot of it in 2 weeks, which is really unfortunate because I really wanted to love this movie, and instead I just thought it was okay. So if you've seen It Lives Inside, did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was okay. I didn't think it was fantastic. I didn't think it was incredible. I thought that there were some really great moments, and I thought there were some not so good moments. It's not the worst thing released this year, so if you're looking for a horror movie around this time of year, you could do a lot worse. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.